and we'll keep drifting, floating together through the mysteries. 100 Plants Mysteries, looping softly, endlessly, through the night. Tonight we'll drift through plants that communicate through underground fungal networks, carnivorous plants that hunt with traps and enzymes, ancient plants that have survived unchanged for millions of years. There's nothing you need to do now. Just let your body sink. Heavier, heavier. Feel the mattress holding you, every muscle softening, your heartbeat slowing, thump, thump, matching the rhythm of space itself, shoulders melting down, jaw releasing, each breath pulling you deeper, deeper, into the calm, the quiet, the dark. If this helps you rest, tap subscribe, comment, and hit like, so others can find this calm too, but only if your eyes are still open. Otherwise, just drift. Now, let's drift into plants, beneath your feet. Right now as you rest, there's a forest breathing. Trees connected by threads finer than spider silk, stretching through darkness, through soil. A network some call the wood wide web, where fungi weave between roots, trading sugars, minerals, even warnings. A mother tree can recognize her own seedlings through these threads, sending them extra carbon when they're shaded, struggling. The network pulses, thump, thump, like a heartbeat underground. Some trees share so much through these fungal highways that a stump, long cut, can stay alive for decades, fed by its neighbors, by the forest remembering. Your breath slowing now, matching the slow exchange. Carbon for phosphorus, information traveling at the speed of soil. The fungi, mycorrhizae they're called, wrap around root tips like gentle fingers, extending the reach of every tree by hundreds of miles. A single handful of forest floor contains miles of these threads, all whispering, trading, connecting. Douglas firs in one study sent carbon to paper birch trees, and the birches sent different nutrients back. A conversation in chemistry, in the dark. Heavier now, your body sinking like roots going down, down. Plants can't run from danger, so they learn to talk instead. When a willow is attacked by caterpillars, it releases chemicals into the air, bitter compounds called phenolics, and nearby willows, catching that scent, begin producing their own defenses, raising their chemical walls before the caterpillars arrive, a language of volatile molecules, drifting like your thoughts, getting softer, quieter. Even the lima bean speaks in scents. When spider mites attack its leaves, the plant releases a specific perfume, a call for help, and predatory mites smell this invitation, arriving to feast on the plant's enemies. The plant recruits its own army, without moving, without sound, just chemistry, a floating through air, like your consciousness, floating, drifting. Let your jaw go slack, completely loose. Plants sense their world in ways we're only beginning to understand. They have no eyes, yet they see light, detecting not just brightness, but color, direction. even the red to far red ratio that tells them if they're shaded by other leaves. Photoreceptors called phytochromes shift between two forms, one absorbing red light, one absorbing far red, and this simple toggle tells the plant everything. Grow taller, spread wider, flower now. Wait, your eyelids heavier, heavier. Some plants count. The Venus flytrap has tiny trigger hairs inside its leaves, and it won't snap shut unless two hairs are touched, or one hair is touched twice within 20 seconds. It's counting, remembering, conserving energy for real prey instead of false alarms like raindrops. A plant with memory, stored in calcium waves, in electrical signals, thump, thump, travelling across its leaves. Even more remarkable, the flytrap knows how many times its prey has struggled. Each movement triggers more electrical signals, and after 5 triggers, the plant begins releasing digestive enzymes. After more, it seals tighter, making a stomach, taking inventory of its catch through touch alone, in darkness, in silence. Like you taking inventory of your body, each part getting heavier, further away, sinking deeper now. Plants feel gravity through special cells called statocytes, filled with dense starch grains, amyloplasts, that settle downward like tiny stones. The plant knows which way is down because these stones are always falling, always pointing to Earth's center. Roots follow them down, stems grow against them up. Even in the darkness of soil, the plant knows, always knows. Touch a mimosa plant, and it folds its leaves, a response called thigmotropism. The stimulus travels as an electrical pulse, action potentials like neurons, but slower, gentler. The leaves collapse because cells on one side rapidly pump out water, losing pressure, turgor. The whole plant can fold in seconds, a wave of closure, like your own consciousness, folding, softening. Your breath barely there now, shallow, easy. Plants have circadian rhythms, internal clocks that keep running even in constant darkness. Leaves rise with dawn, lower with dusk. Even when locked in a lab, always dark or always light, the plants still keep their rhythm, anticipating sunrise, preparing their photosynthesis machinery before light arrives, living by time they can't see, by a clock written in genes, proteins called timing of cab expression, TOC, late elongated hypocotyl, cycling, rising and falling, thump, thump, like your heartbeat, slowing, slowing. Let everything go heavy now. Plants produce hormones just like animals do. Auxins make them grow, accumulating on the shaded side of a stem, making those cells grow longer, bending the plant toward light. A simple inequality creating motion. Phototropism, the reaching we see in time lapse. The reaching you can't see in real time, but it's always happening. Slow, patient, inevitable. When you lay a seedling on its side, auxin redistributes, accumulating on the lower side. Stems feel this and grow away from gravity. Roots feel it and grow toward it. Gravitropism, the same hormone, opposite responses, encoded in different tissues, different genes. The root knows to dive, the shoot knows to climb, even in darkness, even without light to guide them, float deeper, deeper. Carnivorous plants evolved in bogs, in places where soil is so acidic, so nutrient poor, that minerals are scarce, so they learn to catch animals instead. The Venus flytrap snap is one of the fastest movements in the plant kingdom, closing in 1/10 of a second, powered by a sudden shift in leaf curvature, like a switch flipping, stored elastic energy releasing all at once. Before the snap, the leaves are curved outward, convex, held in tension. But when triggered, cells on the outer surface suddenly expand, or the inner ones contract, and the whole geometry inverts, snapping shut like a bee-stubble mechanism, like the lid on a jar, clicking from one stable state to another, all without muscles, without nerves, just hydraulics, cell pressure, and clever shape. Your muscles need nothing now, no tension, no holding. The sundew takes a different approach, slow, patient. Its leaves sparkle with droplets that look like morning dew, but they're glue, sticky mucilage. When an insect lands, investigating the shine, it's caught. And here's where it gets strange. The leaf begins to curl, taking minutes, hours, wrapping around its prey like fingers closing. Cells on the outer edge grow while inner cells stop, creating the curve, the embrace. Each sticky tentacle also bends, moving the insect toward digestive glands. It's all happening slowly, imperceptibly, like sleep creeping over you, like darkness settling. The plant releases enzymes, acids, breaking down the insect over days, absorbing nitrogen, phosphorus, the nutrients its bog home can't provide. Pitcher plants are even stranger. They grew leaves that became vases, deep chambers filled with digestive fluid. The rim is slippery, covered in waxy scales, and often produces nectar, luring insects to the edge. One slip, and they tumble down. Unable to climb the frictionless walls, they drown in the pool, where bacteria, enzymes, and the plant's own acids dissolve them slowly. Some pitcher plants have even evolved a taste for something bigger. Rat-eating pitchers in Borneo, monkey cups, large enough to hold liters of fluid, everything dissolving, boundaries softening. Carnivorous plants evolved at least 6 separate times, in different families, on different continents, convergent evolution creating snaps, sticky traps, pitfall traps, lobster pots, bladder traps, all solving the same problem: nutrients. Different answers written in different genes, shaped by different accidents, but arriving at the same conclusion: catch, digest, absorb. Some plants became parasites instead. The dodder has no leaves, no roots, barely any chlorophyll. It's orange, thread-like, and it grows in spirals, searching. When it touches a host plant, it penetrates with haustoria, specialized organs that pierce through bark, tapping into the vascular system, stealing water, sugars. the work of photosynthesis. The dodder can even move between hosts, creating webs that connect different plants, becoming a highway for viruses, for signals, for chemistry flowing between species. Your body a web too, nervous system, circulatory, everything connected, everything slowing. There are plants that parasitize other plants' parasites, layers of theft, ghost pipes, Indian pipes, white waxy plants that look like frozen smoke. They contain no chlorophyll at all. They're mycoheterotrophs, parasitizing fungi, which are themselves partnered with trees. So the ghost pipe steals from the mold, which trades with the tree, 3 species locked in an arrangement that looks like haunting, like dreams. Heavier, heavier. Let's drift to partnerships now. Most plants, perhaps 90%, form mycorrhizal associations. The mold grows into or around the root, extending its reach, pulling water and minerals from soil the root could never access. In return, the plant gives the fungal sugars, sometimes 30% of everything it makes. A trade as old as land plants themselves, perhaps how plants left the water, partnered with fungi from the start. There are forests where nearly every root is connected through fungal networks stretching acres, hundreds of acres. A tree isn't an individual, it's a node, a participant, one voice in a chorus. When scientists labeled carbon in one tree, they found it appearing in dozens of neighbors, even different species, firs and birches and cedars, all connected, all sharing. The forest as a single organism, breathing together, and you're breathing with it. Slow, slower. Sink down now, down into soil, into darkness. Plants speak in more than fungal threads. Their roots release chemicals, exudates, that shape the soil community, attracting helpful bacteria, repelling pathogens. Some of these chemicals are allelochemicals, compounds that inhibit other plants. Black walnut trees produce juglone, toxic to many species, creating clear zones around their trunks. Chemical warfare, subtle, patient, waged in darkness, in silence. Eucalyptus drops leaves full of oils that make soil flammable, that discourage other plants. The eucalyptus adapted to fire, bark that sheds, buds protected underground, so it engineers fire, then survives it, inheriting ashes, inheriting space, everything softening, boundaries between species, between self and other, getting blurry, vague. Your heartbeat, thump, thump, barely noticed now. Plants make thousands of chemicals we call secondary metabolites, not needed for basic life, for photosynthesis or growth, but for defense, communication, competition. The caffeine in coffee paralyzes insects at the same time it makes us alert. The nicotine in tobacco is an insecticide, a neurotoxin, morphine and codeine, quinine and THC, toxins, all of them, repurposed by humans, by accident, by experimentation. Some of these compounds are alkaloids, nitrogen-containing rings that interact with animal nervous systems in specific ways. Morphine fits into opioid receptors, a lock and key, even though the opium poppy has no knowledge of mammal brains, no intention, just chemistry that happens to match, happens to silence pain, happens to create dreams. Everything dreaming now, soft, quiet. Plants have immune systems too. When a virus invades, or a bacterium, the plant can initiate a hypersensitive response, deliberately killing cells around the infection site, creating a moat of death, sacrificing tissue to save the whole. The dead cells form a barrier, and the plant sends signals throughout its body, systemically acquired resistance, a chemical memory of attack, making the whole plant harder, tougher, more bitter for weeks. This memory is short-term, usually not passed to offspring, but sometimes it is. Stressed plants can produce offspring that are prepared for the same stress, without experiencing it themselves. A kind of inheritance, softer than genes, written in methylation patterns, in how DNA is read rather than what it says. Epigenetic memory, the plant remembering, the forest remembering, like your body remembers how to sleep, how to let go, how to drift. Feel yourself drifting, no edges, no borders. When a plant is wounded, cut, browsed, hormones flood the damage site. Jasmonic acid, salicylic acid, triggering repairs, activating defense genes. The wound seals with callose, a quick plug, then linen, woody tissue, permanent but flexible. Some plants can even regenerate from cuttings, a small piece of stem or root growing into a whole new individual. Totipotency, every cell remembering how to become everything. A willow branch stuck in mud becomes a tree. Strawberries send out runners, clones, a ring of daughters around the mother. Some bamboos are all clones, thousands of stems, one root system, miles across, one organism, appearing as many, like thoughts, separate but connected, arising from one source, one quiet, one darkness, settling. Let your breathing be automatic, forgotten. Plants reproduce through gamete fusion too, through flowers, through seeds, but the mechanics are strange. The pollen grain isn't a sperm, it's more like a person. It lands on the stigma and grows a tube, a long tunnel through the style, down to the ovary. The tube carries 2 sperm cells. One will fertilize the egg, creating an embryo. The other fertilizes a cell that becomes endosperm, food for the baby. Double fertilization, a system found only in flowering plants. This complexity, this doubling, may be why flowering plants exploded across Earth, diversifying into hundreds of thousands of species in just a few tens of millions of years, a blink. They partnered with pollinators, insects and birds and bats, trading nectar for transport, evolving flowers shaped like the moths that pollinate them, like the beaks, like the tongues, coevolution, each species shaping the other, locked in a dance across deep time. Some flowers reflect ultraviolet light in patterns we can't see, landing strips for bees whose eyes detect UV. The flower looks plain to us, yellow, white, but to a bee it's a target, a signal, a map painted in wavelengths we're blind to, different realities, overlapping, like consciousness and unconsciousness, overlapping, blending, as you drift between them, heavier, so heavy. Nectar isn't just sugar water, it contains amino acids, proteins, sometimes alkaloids that drug the pollinator, making them clumsy, more likely to contact the reproductive parts. Some orchids produce no nectar at all. They mimic the pheromones of female wasps, and male wasps attempt to mate with the flower, pseudo-copulation, covering themselves in pollen, flying to the next flower, trying again. The orchid offers nothing, just lies, just shape and scent, and it's enough. The complexity of deception, of partnership, of need, all written in petals, in chemicals, in time, like dreams written in neurons, in chemistry, real but intangible, true but impossible to hold. Let go completely now. Seeds are time capsule, embryos in suspension, waiting. Some can wait centuries, millennia. Seeds pulled from Arctic permafrost, 32,000 years frozen, have grown, flowered. The oldest, Silene stenophila, a campion flower. White petals opening after an unimaginable wait, after ice ages, after extinctions, patient as stone. Sacred lotus seeds from a dry lake bed in China, 600 years old, still viable. Date palm seeds from Masada, 2,000 years, germinating under laboratory care, growing into trees, making dates, closing a circle across empires, across ages. The seed knows how to wait. Metabolism slowed almost to zero, DNA protected, waiting for water, for warmth, for the conditions that say, now is the time. Your metabolism slowing, everything slowing. Seeds disperse by wind, by water, by animals. Maple seeds spin like helicopters, falling slowly, traveling far. Dandelion seeds float on parachutes of silk, riding currents, drifting like you. Coconuts float in oceans, crossing hundreds of miles. Some plants evolved explosive dispersal, violets and touch-me-nots building tension in pods, then rupturing, flinging seeds meters away. Tiny catastrophes, launching the next generation. Animals eat fruits, digest flesh, pass seeds far from the parent, sometimes scarified by stomach acid, ready to germinate. The plant feeds the animal plants the forest. No intention, just chemistry, just time, just survival finding a path, like water flowing downhill, inevitable, effortless, everything effortless now. Plants have life cycles as varied as animals. Annuals germinate, grow, flower, seed, and die, all in 1 year. Mayflies, but green. Biennials take 2 years, growing roots and leaves the first year, storing energy, then flowering and dying the second, a delayed payoff. Patience rewarded. Perennials live on, flowering many times, trees standing centuries and millennia. The bristlecone pines in California's White Mountains, some over 5,000 years old, were seedlings when humans invented writing, were mature when Rome fell, still growing, still green, rings marking each year, each drought, each fire, a library written in cellulose, in lignin, counting time, thump, thump, like a heartbeat, slow, ancient, almost eternal. There are organisms even older, clonal colonies. Pando, a quaking aspen grove in Utah, is one root system, one genetic individual. 47,000 stems, covering 100 acres, perhaps 80,000 years old, older than our species, older than the last ice age, growing, dying back, resprouting, immortal through renewal, like consciousness, dying each night, resurrecting each morning, but maybe tonight we let it rest, let it drift, let it go, softer, quieter, in forests. Succession unfolds like a slow dance. After a disturbance, fire or storm or flood, pioneer species arrive first, fast-growing, light-loving, fireweed and lupines, alders and birches, fixing nitrogen, shading soil, making conditions right for the next wave. The pioneers are replaced by longer-lived species, shade-tolerant, patient, eventually a climax community, stable, complex, mature, if given enough time, enough peace. But climax is a myth. Really, forests are always changing, always responding, always in flux, like sleep, always cycling, moving through stages, never truly still. Your brain's cycling now, drifting toward theta waves, toward delta, toward the deep, slow rhythms, thump, thump, where consciousness dissolves, where self becomes vague, becomes quiet. Some plants are keystones, holding ecosystems together. Remove them and everything shifts. Cascades, eelgrass meadows shelter fish, filter water, store carbon. Oak trees support hundreds of insect species, which feed birds, which spread seeds. Everything connected. Remove one thread and the weaving loosens. Phrase. Invasive plants break these connections, arriving without their predators, their diseases, growing unchecked. Kudzu smothering southern forests, purple leucostrife choking wetlands. Each invasion a lesson in relationships, in balance, in how communities form over time, over millennia, and can be undone in decades, in years. Your thoughts undone now, scattered, soft. Plants have adapted to every environment on Earth. Cacti in deserts store water in thick stems, shed leaves entirely. Their stomata, the pores that breathe, open only at night, when it's cool, when humidity is higher. They use CAM photosynthesis, crassylation acid metabolism, capturing carbon dioxide at night, storing it, then using it during the day when stomata are sealed, a temporal separation, preventing water loss, surviving when nothing else can. Other desert plants, ephemerals, wait as seeds for years, decades. Then rain comes and they germinate, grow, flower, seed, all in weeks, racing against drought, completing a lifetime in a window, like a dream, intense, brief, gone. Arctic and alpine plants grow in cushions, hugging ground, creating microclimates. Inside the cushion it's warmer, sheltered. Some Arctic willows are technically trees, but only inches tall, ancient but tiny, gnarled. Every cell a victory against cold, against wind, against impossibility. Everything impossible becoming possible in this. Drifting, quiet. Aquatic plants evolved to live underwater or floating. Water lilies send up leaves and flowers on flexible stalks, roots anchored in mud. They have large air spaces in their tissues, erenchyma, channels for oxygen to diffuse from leaves to roots. The underwater stems photosynthesize at low light, slow metabolism, slow growth, adapted to the dim green world beneath the surface. Epiphytes live in trees, never touching ground. Air plants, orchids, bromeliads. Their roots grip bark, absorb water from rain and fog. Some bromeliads form tanks in their leaf rosettes, tiny pools where frogs breed, where insects live. An ecosystem in a plant, in a tree, nested realities. Let yourself nest now, in darkness, in softness. Succulents master water storage, jade plants, aloe, agave. Thick waxy cuticles prevent evaporation. Leaves are full of mucilage, gel. Holding moisture, they can shrink during drought. Cells collapsing, then swell again with rain. Revival, resurrection, like waking, but slower, gentler, barely there. Photosynthesis itself comes in varieties. C3 is the standard, used by most plants. Carbon dioxide is grabbed by an enzyme, rubisco, fixed into a 3-carbon compound. But rubisco is sloppy. It sometimes grabs oxygen instead. Photorespiration, wasteful in hot, dry conditions. So some plants evolved C4, using a different enzyme first, one with higher affinity for carbon dioxide. They fix it in outer cells, concentrate it, then ship it to inner cells where rubisco works efficiently. Corn, sugarcane, many tropical grasses. They're more efficient, especially when it's hot, when water is scarce. The chemistry cascading, electrons flowing, energy converting. Light into sugar into life. Chlorophyll absorbs red and blue light, reflects green, which is why plants are green, why forests are emerald. But there are other pigments too. Carotenoids absorbing blue-green, anthocyanins absorbing green and yellow. Some leaves are red, purple, bronze. Different pigments, different strategies, different solutions to the same problem. Capture light, channel energy, survive. Your energy channeling down now, down into rest, into restoration. Plants respire like animals, burning sugars, consuming oxygen, releasing carbon dioxide. It happens all the time, in all tissues, but we notice only photosynthesis, only the green magic, the building. We forget the breaking down, the burning that happens in every cell, every mitochondrion. Thump, thump, making ATP, the energy currency, keeping the cell alive, active, waiting. Plants are carbon sinks, storing more than they release. Forests hold gigatons in wood, in soil, in roots. They slow climate, cool air, make rain. The Amazon makes half its own rainfall, water cycling from soil to air to rain to soil. A system a machine without intention, running on light, on chemistry, on time. Everything cycling, your thoughts cycling down, slowing, stopping. Ancient plants, early plants, different from today. The first plants on land were small, no taller than your finger, living in moist places, near water, still needing it to reproduce, sperm swimming, flagella beating across wet surfaces. Mosses and liverworts still do this, still need water for mating, still tied to moisture, to the very edge of aquatic and terrestrial, between worlds. Ferns came next, vascular tissue, tubes for water and nutrients, able to grow taller, to spread inland, but still the swimming sperm, still needing moisture. They dominated for millions of years. Forests of tree ferns, giant club mosses, the Carboniferous. When plants first made wood, made lignin, and nothing could decay it yet. No mold, no bacterium had evolved the enzymes. So dead trees accumulated, layer upon layer, becoming coal, storing carbon, changing atmosphere, oxygen rising, fires burning hotter, insects growing huge, dragonflies the size of hawks, breathing easy in the oxygen-rich air. Everything connected, plants remaking the world, unintentionally, inevitably, sinking deeper, deeper into time, into darkness. Gymnosperms evolved seeds, no more swimming sperm, just pollen carried by wind. Conifers, cycads, ginkgos dominated the Mesozoic, fed the dinosaurs, towered over the ferns. Then the angiosperm, the flowering plant, exploded, diversified, partnered with insects, with birds, with evolution itself in a feedback loop. More flowers, more pollinators, more flowers, faster, faster, until they dominated, until almost everything green wore blooms at some point, until the world became a garden, your world becoming quieter, simpler, softer. Plant fossils are rare, soft tissue decays, but sometimes conditions are right. Petrified forests, trees turned to stone, cell by cell, silica replacing cellulose, perfectly preserved. You can count rings, see growth patterns from millions of years ago. Amber traps flowers, leaves, pollen, frozen in time, in resin, like memories, like dreams held in suspension. Humans domesticated plants, took wild grasses and turned them into wheat, rice, corn, took bitter almonds and selected sweet, took tiny fruits and made them swell. Domestication is evolution, directed, accelerated. We shaped plants and they shaped us. Agriculture allowed civilization, allowed cities, allowed time for art, philosophy, science. We wouldn't be here without wheat, without rice, without the grasses, without partnership, symbiosis, dependence, everything dependent, everything connected, even consciousness, even sleep, needs the right conditions, the right chemistry, the right darkness. Plants even grow in space, in orbit, under artificial light. Astronauts eat lettuce grown on the station. Red and blue LEDs, no soil, just aeroponics, roots in air, misted. The plants grow fine, mostly, sometimes confused, gravity confused, without clear down. Roots wander, Stems spiral, but they adapt. They always adapt, finding a way, slow, patient, as life always is, heavier, so heavy, like roots, going down. Plants create colours through pigments, chlorophyll green, carotenoid orange and yellow, anthocyanins red and purple and blue, depending on pH. Full colours are anthocyanins and carotenoids revealed, chlorophyll breaking down, the green fading, showing what was always there, hidden, like thoughts fading, revealing quiet, revealing nothing, revealing peace. Anthocyanins protect, absorb excess light, act as sunscreen when photosynthesis is paused. When cold comes, they're also signals to pollinators, to dispersers, red berries, purple flowers, attracting eyes, saying, here is sugar, here is energy, come and bring my seeds with you when you go. Everything going now. Let everything go, soft, forgotten. Plants communicate through more than chemicals, through more than fungal threads. There's evidence, debated, controversial, that they respond to sound. Roots grow towards certain frequencies, vibrations in the soil. Some flowers may even make sounds, clicking, popping, at frequencies we can't hear, ultrasonic conversations, or maybe just physics, just mechanics, making noise as cells shift, as water moves. But when you play sound, music, certain tones, some plants grow differently. Bean roots reach toward a buzzing at 200 hertz, the frequency of a bee. Perhaps they evolved to sense pollinators, or perhaps it's vibration, physics, not biology. The experiments continue, the mystery remains, soft, open, unresolved, like dreams, neither true nor false, just possibility, drifting, your body vibrating at its own frequency, every cell, every molecule, humming, quantum, barely there. Plants inspired human culture, spirituality, art, the tree of life, the world tree, Yggdrasil connecting realms, the Bodhi tree where Buddha sat, enlightenment under leaves, the burning bush, the olive branch, the crown of thorns. Plants as symbols, as meaning, as connection between earth and sky, root and crown, dark and light. Everything symbolic now, nothing literal, just feelings, just impressions. Oak trees were sacred to Druids, to Norse, to Greeks, different cultures, same reverence. Perhaps because oaks live so long, because they tower, because they feed so many. Acorns feeding deer, squirrels, jays, wood feeding fires, sheltering homes, tannins preserving leather, making ink, the oak tree giving, always giving, letting go now, everything giving way. Plants produce seeds that lie dormant, waiting. Some need fire to germinate, smoke chemicals triggering growth. They evolved in fire-prone places, chaparral, Australian bush, waiting for catastrophe to begin. Seeds cracking open only after heat, after destruction, ready for the flush of nutrients, the lack of competition, the open sky, life from ashes, green from black, patience rewarded by disaster. Other seeds need cold, stratification, They won't germinate until winter has passed, until they've been frozen, chilled. They're counting, measuring, making sure it's really spring, making sure they won't emerge into autumn, into frost, into death. The seed knows, somehow, keeping time in the dark, in the quiet, measuring temperature, days, certainty. Your body counting breaths, heartbeats, thump, thump, slower now, barely counting, barely there. Some plants are living fossils, unchanged for millions of years. Horsetails today look like horsetails from the Carboniferous, smaller, but the same basic design, segmented, hollow, green stems, reduced leaves, spore-producing cones. They were trees once, before angiosperms, before flowers. Now they're small, marginal, but surviving, persisting. Proof that if something works, evolution keeps it unchanged, patient, eternal. Ginkgo trees are similar, unchanged for 200 million years. They saw dinosaurs, saw continents split, saw mass extinctions, and they're still here. Two-lobed leaves, fan-shaped, unique. The species almost went extinct, surviving only in Chinese temple gardens, preserved by monks, by culture, by reverence. Now planted worldwide, city trees, tolerant of pollution, of neglect, of time itself, drift further, further into green time, into slow time. Cycads look like palms but aren't. They're gymnosperm, cone-bearing, ancient. They dominated the Mesozoic, the age of dinosaurs, fed the herbivores, now rare, endangered, but still here. Some individual plants are over 1,000 years old, massive cones, toxic seeds. Everything about them speaks of another era, another world, slower, stranger, before flowers, before us. Feel yourself in that world, slower, greener, quieter. Senescence is aging in plants, leaves yellowing, falling. Trees don't die of old age usually. They die from disease, from drought, from storm. But they do age. Wood in the centers dies, heartwood, non-functional but structural. Only the outer rings, sapwood, actively transport water. The tree is mostly dead wood, wrapped in a thin living skin, cambium, one cell layer thick, growing outward, growing inward, adding ring after ring after ring, thump, thump, like heartbeats made solid, time made visible. Some trees drop their heartwood, hollow out, become vats, caves, trunks wide enough to drive through, empty but alive, skin holding void and still growing, still green, proving that life needs only surface, only edge, only the boundary between self and world. Your boundaries dissolving, self and not self blurring, forgetting where you end, where the bed begins, where the room is just darkness, just weight, just breath, barely breath. Plant hormones do more than auxins. Gibberellins make stems stretch, make seeds germinate, sprayed on grapes to make them larger, longer. Cytokinins drive cell division, keep tissues young, delay senescence. Ethylene is the aging hormone, ripening fruit, wilting flowers. One apple releasing ethylene that ripens the barrel. one dying flower spreading death through chemistry, through air, through time. Abscisic acid, closest to martyr during drought, tells seeds to stay dormant. It's a stress hormone, a weight signal, a message of caution. Plants balancing growth and survival, expansion and conservation, like consciousness balancing awareness and rest, alert and sleep. Now choosing sleep, choosing rest, choosing nothing, everything nothing now, soft, empty. Roots don't just anchor and absorb, they explore. They grow in spirals, corkscrew paths, increasing chances of finding water, nutrients. The root tip is protected by a cap, cells that slough off, making mucus, lubricating passage through soil. The cap contains the statocytes, the gravity sensors, telling the root which way is down, always down, seeking darkness, seeking depth, seeking foundation. Behind the tip is a zone of cell division, making more root, then a zone of elongation, cells swelling, growing longer, pushing the tip forward, then a zone of maturation, where root hairs emerge, delicate extensions, increasing surface area 100-fold, each hair a few days old, temporary, disposable, but enough to drink, enough to anchor, enough to connect, connected to everything, to soil, to darkness, to quiet. Plants communicate through their roots, exuding chemicals that attract microbes. Rhizobia bacteria sense flavonoids released by legume roots, swim toward them, invade, form nodules, convert nitrogen gas into ammonia, feeding the plant. The plant feeds the bacteria. Symbiosis, clover, beans, peas, alfalfa. They don't need nitrogen fertilizer. They make their own, partnered, dependent, successful through cooperation, through connection. You're breathing connected to the room, to the air, to plants somewhere making oxygen. Everything cycling. Allelopathy is chemical warfare between plants. Sunflowers secrete toxins, black walnuts, eucalyptus, creating zones where competitors can't grow. Some desert plants space themselves evenly, their roots sensing chemicals from neighbors, stopping growth when too close, self-organizing patterns, emergent order from simple rules, from chemistry, from competition softened by space, by distance. But sometimes distance doesn't help. Garlic mustard, an invasive plant in North America, releases compounds that inhibit mycorrhizal fungi, the partnerships most native plants depend on. So it doesn't just compete, it sabotages the support systems, breaks the old connections. It thrives because it doesn't need the fungi, it evolved without them, while native plants starve, disconnected, defeated by chemistry, by difference, by invasion, everything invading, sleep invading thought, silence invading sound, darkness invading light, sinking. Toxic plants fascinate us. Poison hemlock killed Socrates. Aconite, monkshood, stops the heart. Oleander, beautiful but deadly. One leaf potentially fatal. Ricin from castor beans, destroying cells, destroying life. Plants defending themselves with extremes. with molecules that interface with our nervous systems, our hearts, our cells, by accident, by chemistry that happens to match, happens to kill. But many toxic plants are also medicinal. Foxglove produces digitalis, a heart medication, deadly in high doses, life-saving in small ones. Willow bark gave us aspirin. Yew trees produce Taxol. Chemotherapy, fighting cancer. The dose makes the poison, makes the cure, and plants have been making these compounds for millions of years, long before us, for their own purposes, their own survival. We just borrow them, repurpose them, test them carefully, cautiously, gratefully, softer, quieter, drifting through chemistry, through history. Psychoactive plants shaped human culture, ceremonial cactus, ayahuasca vine, psilocybin mushrooms, technically fungi but close enough, cannabis, tobacco, coffee, coca, all producing compounds that change consciousness, alter perception, create visions, ritual, addiction, culture. Why do plants make these? Originally for defense, alkaloids that confuse, that poison, that deter, but we found them, experimented, learned doses, incorporated them into spirituality, medicine, recreation, vice. Plants shaping human history, human consciousness, through chemistry, through accident, through time. Your consciousness shaped now by fatigue, by darkness, by the chemicals of sleep naturally flooding your brain, adenosine building, melatonin rising, GABA receptors opening, everything softening, everything slowing, thump, 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 barely there. Plant alkaloids are nitrogen-containing compounds, caffeine, morphine, nicotine, quinine, strychnine. They're metabolically expensive to make, so plants make them only when needed, when threatened, or store them in specific tissues, in bark, in seeds, in roots, places herbivores target. Defense is concentrated where danger is highest. Efficiency, economy, survival through chemistry. Secondary metabolites are thousands of compounds, terpenoids, phenolics, alkaloids, flavonoids, not used in primary metabolism, not for photosynthesis or growth, but for interaction, for communication, for defense, for color, for scent. The diversity is staggering. One plant species might make hundreds. The plant kingdom millions. A chemical library written in genes, expressed in tissue, experienced as smell, as color, as toxicity, as life. Feel the chemistry of your own body, neurotransmitters, hormones, everything flowing, everything balanced, tipping towards sleep, toward quiet, toward shutdown, temporary, safe, necessary. Plant immune systems recognize patterns, molecular patterns common to bacteria or fungi, PAMPs, pathogen-associated molecular patterns. Receptors on plant cells detect these, trigger defenses, produce antimicrobial compounds, strengthen cell walls. Sometimes the plant overreacts, hypersensitive response, killing its own tissues to stop the invader, sacrifice for survival, part for whole. Plants can also develop systemic acquired resistance after one infection. The whole plant becomes more resistant for weeks, months, a kind of immune memory, softer than animal immunity, but real, effective. The plant remembers danger, prepares, waits, waiting now, in darkness, in peace, just waiting, not for anything, just being. Plant wound responses are immediate and dramatic. Calcium floods the damage site. Electrical signals race through the tissue. Within seconds, minutes, genes activate, produce jasminates, defense hormones. The plant mobilizes, without thinking, without deciding, just responding, automatically, like your body responds to injury, to danger, without consultation, without you. Some plants use latex when cut, white milky sap, drying quickly, sealing the wound. Rubber trees, milkweeds, figs, the latex often contains toxins, irritants, discouraging the herbivore from a second bite. Defense and healing combined, efficient, elegant, evolved. Everything healing now, your body repairing, always repairing, cells dividing, proteins folding, DNA replicating, all in sleep, all in darkness, all without your attention. Your body knows, like plants know, like everything alive knows, how to maintain, how to continue, how to persist, quietly, patiently, endlessly. Plants regenerate better than animals. Cut a stem, and it grows too. Prune a tree and it bushes out. A severed root can become a new plant, a torn leaf, a fragment. Many plants can clone themselves, vegetatively, runners, rhizomes, bulbs, fragments. One strawberry plant becomes a patch. One bamboo becomes a grove, genetically identical, but individuals too, separate, connected, both at once. Your thoughts separate but connected, drifting apart, coming together, making no sense, making perfect sense. Logic of dreams, logic of darkness. Asexual reproduction is faster, cheaper, guaranteed success. The offspring are clones, carrying all the same genes. No genetic lottery, no risk of incompatibility, but also no diversity, no adaptation, no evolution. So most plants do both. Reproductive and clonal, seeds and clones, diversity and certainty, exploration and exploitation, balancing strategies across time, across space, across survival. Gametic reproduction in plants is bizarre, complex. Flowers are hermaphroditic often, male and female parts together. Anthers making pollen, ovaries holding eggs. Some plants avoid self-fertilization through timing. Anthers maturing before the stigma is receptive, or vice versa. Others use chemistry, self-incompatibility. Pollen from the same plant is recognized, rejected, prevented from growing its tube, forced to outcross, forced to mix genes, maintain diversity, stay adaptable, everything flowing, like water, like breath, like consciousness between awake and asleep, drifting. Pollination strategies evolve to match pollinators. Wind pollination is primitive, wasteful, millions of pollen grains released, most falling on stone, on water, on nothing. But it works for grasses, for many trees, oaks, birches, pines, no color needed, no scent, no nectar, just abundance, just wind, just chance, multiplied until chance becomes certainty. Insect pollination is more efficient, targeted, bees, butterflies, beetles. Each sees different colors, prefers different shapes. Bees see ultraviolet, prefer blue, yellow. Butterflies prefer red. Flowers evolve to match. Blue for bees, red for butterflies, white for moths that fly at night, scent to guide them, nectar to reward them. Everything aligned, matched, through evolutionary time, through feedback, through success breeding success, through failure dying unremembered, heavier, so heavy, like stone, like the earth itself, sleeping. Bird pollination favors red flowers, tubular, tough, lots of nectar, hummingbirds hovering, sipping, long beaks matching long flowers, evolve together, dependent. Some flowers have curved corollas matching curved beaks, specific species, specific partnerships. Remove one, the other suffers, may vanish, coextinction, tragedy written in specialization, in beauty, in perfection too perfect to survive change. Bat pollination happens at night. Flowers open at dusk, pale or white, strong musky scent, hanging free. Easy for bats to access while flying, hovering, licking nectar with long tongues. Agave, baobab, some cacti. They evolved to serve mammals that fly in darkness, that navigate by echolocation, by scent, by memory. Partnerships written in time, in genetics, in mutual survival. Coevolution creates marvels and prisons, yucca plants and yucca moths. The moth pollinates only yucca. The yucca is pollinated only by the moth. The moth lays eggs in the flower. Larvae eat some seeds, but enough seeds survive. Both species survive, locked together. Separation means extinction for both. Dependency absolute, trust absolute, ancient, unbreakable. Everything breaking down now, thoughts fragmenting, words losing meaning, just sounds, just breath, just... Flower coloration comes from pigments, flavonoids for yellow, anthocyanins for red and purple and blue, carotenoids for orange. Combinations create the spectrum, the rainbow, the garden. White flowers have no pigments, just air spaces, scattering all wavelengths, reflecting everything, absorbing nothing, pure, empty, like mind in deep sleep, reflecting without experiencing and present without thinking. Some flowers change color after pollination to signal to insects, already done, move along, save your time, save mine. Efficiency through communication, through honesty. Usually, some flowers lie. We mentioned mimicking others, offering nothing, parasitizing the system, the trust, usually rare, because lying only works when most flowers are honest, when the system runs on truth, on reward, on mutual benefit persisting through time, time dissolving, no past, no future, just this darkness, this weight, this. Nectar is primarily sugar water, sucrose, glucose, fructose, energy for the pollinator, but it also contains amino acids, essential nutrients, and sometimes alkaloids. Caffeine in coffee flower nectar makes bees better at remembering that flower, coming back, more efficient pollination. The plant is drugging its helpers, improving their memory, improving its own reproduction, through chemistry, through behavior modification, subtle, effective, elegant. Some nectar contains toxins, deterring thieves, insects that steal without pollinating. Only certain pollinators, tolerant, specialized, can feed, ensuring pollination fidelity, ensuring the plant's investment isn't wasted. Defense and attraction combined, chemistry sorting partners from parasites, everything sorting, thoughts from dreams, dreams from sleep, sleep from nothing, just. Seed dispersal by wind requires lightness. Dandelions, maples, ashes, wing-like structures, parachutes, propellers, catching air, riding currents, travelling far, far from the parent, reducing competition, increasing range, colonizing new territory, adaptations for sailing, for floating, for drifting, like you, drifting, no destination, no need, just movement, just possibility, eventual rest, eventual germination, eventual sleep, deep, complete. Animal dispersal uses fruits, flesh around seeds, sweet, nutritious, colored. Animals eat, walk, fly, excrete feces, and seeds sprout far away, sometimes scarified, sometimes sprouting better after passing through a gut. The plant feeds the disperser plants the plant. Partnership, ancient, reliable, woven into ecology, into food webs, into forest regeneration. Everything connected, everything dependent, everything drifting. Water disperses seeds too, coconuts on ocean currents, willows dropping seeds in streams, seeds floating, waterproof, viable for weeks, months, arriving on distant shores, colonizing, establishing, spreading, unstoppable as water itself, as inevitable, as patient. Coconuts crossing oceans, finding beaches, growing, making forests, making new coconuts. The cycle continuing, unbroken, ancient, automatic. Explosive dispersal is violent but effective. Touch me not seed pods when ripe. Slightest touch, they explode, hurling seeds meters away. The tension builds as seeds mature, as pod dries, as geometry shifts, then release, sudden, complete. No animal needed, no wind, just physics, just pressure, just time, maturity, readiness, trigger, launch. Your muscles released now, all tension gone, all holding gone. Just weight, just gravity, just dormant seeds waiting. Some need light to germinate, tiny seeds. Lettuce, tobacco. They sense light through phytochromes. Won't germinate if buried. They wait at the surface, or they wait for disturbance, for exposure, for their moment. Some seeds inhibit their neighbors, chemicals leaching from seed coats, ensuring space, reducing competition before germination even begins. Planning ahead, chemical planning, automatic, inherited, effective, Seed longevity varies. Most seeds last years, decades, some longer, much longer. We found viable seeds in ancient permafrost, in dry caves, in sealed tombs. The record keeps extending, older and older. Sacred lotus 600 years, date palm 2000, Celine over 30,000, each one a time capsule, each one waiting, not alive, not dead, suspended, dormant, patient, like consciousness in deep sleep, not gone, not present, just waiting, resting, ready, maybe, to return, to wake, but maybe, not tonight, maybe, just drift. Plant embryology is the study of how seeds develop, how one fertilized cell becomes an embryo, becomes a baby plant, with roots, shoots, leaves already formed, microscopic, dormant, waiting. The embryo forms inside the ovule, nourished by endosperm, protected by seed coat, divisions, differentiations, gradients of hormones, genes turning on, off, on, creating pattern, creating form, creating potential, packaged, sealed, sent into time, into soil, into chance. Everything chance, everything inevitable, both. Paradox, accepted, forgotten. In annual plants, the entire life cycle completes in one growing season, one spring, one summer, one autumn, death written into their design, genetically programmed, flowering triggers senescence, resources shift from growth to reproduction, the parent dies to feed the seeds, the ultimate sacrifice and the only strategy, everything for the next generation, nothing held back, then darkness, completion, end, but not really end, because the seeds carry on, carry forward, carry the pattern, the potential, the species into next year, next decade, next millennium, cycling, repeating, eternal through serial death, through serial birth, through time's endless turning. Biennial plants wait longer, 2 years. First year, grow leaves, roots, store energy, in roots, in bulbs, underground, invisible, patient. Second year, send up flower stalks, bloom, seed, die. Carrots and beets are biennials. We eat the storage roots, the first year energy, the saved potential, if we let them grow. Second year they flower, go to seed, complete the cycle, but we interrupt, we harvest, we take, we eat, they die. For us, without offspring, without continuation, domesticated, dependent, exploited, served. Let yourself be served by sleep, by rest, by the body's wisdom, deeper now, down, down. Perennial plants persist, living years, decades, centuries, millennia. They don't exhaust themselves in reproduction. They pace, they balance, growth and flowering, storage and expenditure. They survive winters, droughts, fires. Sometimes, herbaceous perennials die back. Roots surviving, resprouting, woody perennials, trees, shrubs, keep their structure, keep their height, add to it, ring by ring, year by year, thump, thump, time made solid, made visible, made countable. Old trees are libraries as records, as witnesses. They watched history, silent, patient, green, remembering in wood, in rings, in scars, in survival. The oldest living plants, bristlecone pines, 5,000 years, but clonal colonies older, much older. Pando, 80,000 years. Possibly, estimates vary, but ancient, undeniably ancient. Older than writing, older than agriculture, older than art, older than everything human except humans themselves. Maybe older than that too, just growing, just persisting, just being, in the mountains, in the desert, alone, connected, one organism, thousands of stems, one root, one genetic individual, immortal through cloning, through patience, through avoiding mistakes, growing slowly, carefully, never hurrying, never rushing, never needing to. Everything slow now, everything quiet. Clonal colonies are common. Aspen groves, often one individual. Bamboo thickets, the same. They spread vegetatively. Underground rhizomes, lateral roots sending up shoots, appearing separate, actually unified. One being, many forms, colony and individual blur, boundaries uncertain, arbitrary, like self in sleep, dissolving, expanding, contracting, becoming room, becoming darkness, becoming nothing, becoming everything, boundaries gone, definitions, meaningless. Forest ecology is study of how forests work, how trees interact, compete, cooperate, how nutrients cycle, how water moves, how animals fit in, everything connected, trophic levels, food webs, energy flowing from sun to plant to herbivore to carnivore to decomposer, back to soil, back to plant, circles, cycles, nothing wasted, everything eventually recycled, death feeding life, feeding death, endlessly, patiently, perfectly balanced over time, over scale, from bacteria to mammals, all eating, all eaten, all continuing, succession in forests, after disturbance, proceeds in stages, pioneer species first, fast-growing, light-loving, shade-intolerant, they colonize, grow quickly, seed prolifically, create conditions, nitrogen fixation, shade, leaf litter, soil improvement, then they're outcompeted by shade-tolerant species, by trees that grow slower but taller, live longer, persist. The pioneers vanish, or retreat to edges, to openings, to disturbances, where they wait, seeds dormant, ready, patient for the next fire, next storm, next gap, next opportunity. Everything waiting in darkness and soil, this time waiting like you, waiting for a morning, but not yet, just waiting, resting, drifting in this eternal now, this extended moment, this darkness without end, without beginning, just being. Pioneer species are adapted for disturbance. They produce many seeds, disperse widely, grow fast, reproduce young. They're the first responders, ecological EMTs, stabilizing soil, beginning recovery, beginning succession, beginning the long, slow process back to forest, back to complexity, back to mature, stable, climax community, if given time, if left alone, but disturbance is constant. Nothing stays still. Fire, storm, disease, logging, development, ice age, climate shift, continents drifting, everything changing, always, slowly mostly, sometimes fast, but always changing, flowing, like consciousness, like thought, like the edge of sleep, the boundary, the threshold, crossed now, probably, maybe, hard to tell, hard to care. Keystone plant species hold ecosystems together. Oaks supporting hundreds of insect species, those insects feeding birds, those birds spreading seeds. Remove the oak, cascade begins. Insects decline, birds leave, other plants fail to disperse. The system unravels, not immediately, but gradually, inevitably. Keystones aren't always large, aren't always obvious, but they're critical. Their loss felt throughout, rippling outward, downward, through time. Everything connected means everything vulnerable. One loss, many losses, one extinction, many extinctions, cascading, falling, like dominoes, like leaves in autumn, like thoughts, scattering, forgetting, gone. Invasive plants teach us about these connections. They arrive without their context, without their predators, diseases, competitors, partners. They grow unchecked, spreading, dominating, outcompeting natives, changing fire regimes, nutrient cycles, everything. Cheatgrass in the American West burns hotter than native grasses, more frequent fires, killing trees, shrubs, benefiting only cheatgrass, which resprouts, reseeds, spreads. A new ecosystem, simpler, less diverse, stable but wrong, unbalanced, novel, not better, not worse, just different, less, poorer, everything simpler, as sleep deepens, as complexity fades, as consciousness thins, stretches, vanishes, into. Desert adaptations amaze, cacti with pleated stems, expanding with water, contracting in drought, spines instead of leaves, reducing surface area, preventing herbivory, channeling fog to roots. Multiple adaptations, one structure, elegant, economical, perfect for extreme conditions, for impossibility. They survive where nothing should, where rainfall measures in inches per year, where summer heat exceeds body temperature, where winter nights freeze, where soil is almost nothing, just sand, just rock, just absence. But cacti thrive, slowly, carefully, patiently, storing every drop, maximizing every ray, surviving through efficiency, through patience, through persistence, through time. CAM photosynthesis, crassulacean acid metabolism, opens stomata at night, absorbs carbon dioxide, stores it as malic acid, then during day, stomata closed. The stored carbon is processed, normal photosynthesis, but without water loss, without exposure, temporal separation, like shift work, like night shift. doing dangerous work when conditions are safer, cooler, damper, less risk, more efficiency, more survival. Evolution finds solutions. Always. Eventually. Given time, given pressure, given death of those who fail, given reproduction of those who succeed, given time, endless time, patient time, deep time, like deep sleep, where repair happens, where memory consolidates, where the self is remade, quietly, darkly, perfectly. Arctic and alpine plants also face extremes: cold, wind, short growing seasons. They grow low, cushion plants, hugging ground, creating microclimates. Inside the cushion it's warmer, calmer. They shelter each other. One plant, many stems, or many plants. Cooperative, clustered, surviving together. Alone would die. Together they persist. Some Arctic plants are tens, hundreds, thousands of years old, growing millimeters per year. Tiny, ancient, patient beyond understanding. Everything beyond understanding. Everything soft, vague, uncertain. Aquatic plants evolved multiple times from terrestrial ancestors, returning to water, adapting, changing. Submerged leaves are different, thinner, more divided, maximizing surface area, minimizing structure. Water supports them. No need for rigidity, no need for thick cuticles. Just float, just flow, just exist in the medium, in the green darkness, in the slow current, photosynthesizing at low light levels, slow metabolism, slow growth, everything slow, like your breath now, barely moving, barely soil there. Water lilies send leaves to the surface, floating, broad, flat, capturing light. Their petioles, leaf stalks are long, flexible, rising and falling with water level, always keeping leaves afloat, always tracking the surface. The stems have erenchyma, air channels, hollow tubes running from leaf to root. Oxygen diffuses down, roots in mud, oxygen poor. The plant makes its own supply line, its own distribution network, independent, self-sufficient, perfectly adapted, perfectly placed. Epiphytes in rainforests live in canopy, on branches, never touching ground. They catch rain, fog, in their leaves, in tanks formed by rosettes. Some bromeliads hold litres, tiny ponds in the trees. Frogs breed there, insects live there, entire ecosystems in one plant. The epiphyte roots are sparse for attachment, not absorption. They absorb through leaves, through special scales, trichomes, pulling water from air, from rain, from fog, living on almost nothing, on moisture, on whatever washes down the trunk, nutrients from decomposing leaves, from dust, from rain, making do, surviving, thriving, in air, in light, in the canopy where light is, where most of the life is, up high, far, away, everything far away now, body distant, room distant, self, almost gone. Succulents store water in leaves, stems, roots, thick cuticles prevent loss, low surface to volume ratios, round, thick, minimal exposure. They can shrink, shriveling during drought, then swell with rain. Resurrection. The leaf skin is waxy, waterproof, sometimes white, reflecting light, reducing heat, reducing water loss. Every adaptation layered, compounding, creating organisms that survive impossible conditions, that wait impossible times, that persist impossibly long, through chemistry, through form, through patience, through stubborn persistence against entropy, against desiccation, against death. Waiting, always waiting, for rain, for relief, for the moment to grow, to flower, to seed, then wait again, cycle repeating, patient, endless, like breath. In, out, barely. There. C3 photosynthesis is original, standard, used by most plants. Carbon dioxide diffuses into leaf. Through stomata, enzyme Rubisco fixes it, attaches it to a 5-carbon molecule, creating 2 3-carbon molecules, hence C3. The 3-carbon compound is processed, becomes sugar, becomes structure, becomes energy, becomes life. But Rubisco is ancient, evolved when atmosphere had more carbon dioxide, less oxygen. It sometimes grabs oxygen instead. Photorespiration, wasteful, producing toxic compounds, consuming energy, lowering efficiency, especially when hot, when stomata close to conserve water, when oxygen builds up inside the leaf. Rubisco confused, inefficient, making mistakes. C4 plants evolved a solution. Corn, sugarcane, sorghum, tropical grasses. They use a different enzyme first, PEP carboxylase, which has high affinity for carbon dioxide, doesn't grab oxygen. It fixes carbon in outer mesophyll cells, creating 4-carbon compounds, hence C4. These compounds are shuttled to inner bundle sheath cells, where they release carbon dioxide, concentrating it around Rubisco. So Rubisco works efficiently, no photorespiration, no waste, more efficient, especially when hot, dry, bright. C4 plants dominate tropics, grasslands, savannas. They evolved independently dozens of times. Convergent evolution. Same solution. Same problem. Different lineages. Proof that evolution finds optimal solutions. Repeatedly. Inevitably. Given need. Given time. Given death culling the inefficient. Given. Only the best. Surviving. Continuing. Persisting. Cam plants took it further. Temporal separation, night and day, storing and processing, and cacti, agave, pineapple. They opened stomata only at night, cool, humid, low evaporation. They store carbon dioxide as malic acid in vacuoles. Then during day, stomata sealed. They process the stored carbon, photosynthesize without losing water, without opening to the dry, hot, deadly day. Most efficient, most water conservative, but also slowest. Lowest growth rates, but in deserts, slow is enough. Slow survives, fast dies. Patience wins, always, eventually. Everything's slow now. Thoughts, barely forming. Photosynthesis chemistry is elegant. Light hits chlorophyll, excites electrons. Those electrons flow through electron transport chains, protein complexes in thylakoid membranes, creating a proton gradient, potential energy, which drives ATP synthesis and reduces NADP+ to NADPH, energy and reducing power, then used in Calvin cycle to fix carbon dioxide to make sugar from air and light and water, making something from almost nothing, making food from sunlight, making life from simplicity, elegance, beauty, chemistry so perfect, so fundamental that it remade the world, filled the atmosphere with oxygen, enabled animals, enabled us, enabled consciousness itself, maybe, arguably. Without photosynthesis, no complexity, no thought, no anything. Chlorophyll is green, absorbs red and blue, reflects green, but there are variants. Chlorophyll A and B in plants, slightly different absorption peaks, capturing more spectrum, more light, more energy, together, cooperating. Even molecules cooperate. Everything connected. Bacteria have different chlorophylls, absorbing infrared, near-infrared, wavelengths plants ignore. Every wavelength used, somewhere, by something. Nothing wasted in evolution. Every opportunity exploited, every niche filled, every photon caught eventually by something hungry for energy, for life, for continuation. Your body hungry for nothing now, sated, complete, just resting, just being. Plant respiration mirrors animal respiration. Mitochondria burning sugars, consuming oxygen, producing carbon dioxide, water, and ATP, energy. It happens constantly in all living cells, day and night, but we only notice photosynthesis, the building, not the burning, not the constant maintenance. The energy cost of living, of maintaining order against entropy, every cell respiring, thump, thump, tiny fires, controlled combustion, harvesting energy, keeping the cell alive, active, ready, but slower now, in dormancy, in cold, in night. Respiration slows, life slows, but never stops. Never completely, just dims, softens, waits. Carbon storage in plants is massive. Forests hold more carbon than atmosphere, locked in wood, in roots, in soil, organic matter, slowly decaying, slowly releasing, but accumulating faster than releasing. Usually, hopefully, trees are carbon sinks, growing. They pull carbon dioxide from air, convert it to cellulose, lignin, structure, standing for decades, centuries, holding that carbon out of atmosphere, cooling climate, stabilizing systems. Then they die, decay, releasing slowly, or burning, releasing fast. The balance matters. Forests growing faster than dying, carbon sinking, forests shrinking, dying faster than growing, carbon sourcing, climate warming, feedback loops, positive, negative, tipping points, thresholds, crossed or not, depending on us, on choices, on time, running out. But tonight we just drift. We don't worry, we just observe, witness, accept everything as it is, was, will be, floating above concern, above fear, above thought. Plants regulate climate, not just carbon. They transpire, releasing water, Forests make rain, evapotranspiration, water vapor rising, forming clouds, returning as rain. The Amazon generates half its own rainfall, a machine, green machine, powered by sun, cycling water, stabilizing climate, regional and global. Remove the forest, rainfall declines, drought increases, feedback, positive feedback, degradation accelerating. But we're not thinking about that now, just observing, acknowledging, then releasing, letting it go. Like everything, like waking, like self, letting it all go, drift, soften into darkness, into acceptance, into sleep. Ancient plants oxygenated earth, cyanobacteria first, technically not plants, but photosynthetic. They filled the ocean with oxygen, then atmosphere, over billions of years. Great oxygenation event. 2.4 billion years ago, oxygen rose, iron rusted, the ocean turned red, the sky turned blue. Everything changed. Oxygen was toxic to anaerobic life, mass extinction, but also opportunity. Oxygen enables complex metabolism, more energy, more possibilities, more life. Plants, when they evolved, continued the work, filling atmosphere, maintaining it. 21% oxygen, held steady by photosynthesis and respiration, balancing, breathing, the planet breathing, through plants, through algae, through forests, through green, every leaf a lung, every forest breathing, and we breathe with them, in, out, softer, quieter, barely, there, everything barely there, thoughts, thin, transparent. The first land plants were tiny, bryophytes, mosses, liverworts, hornworts, small, low, hugging substrate, still tied to water, needing it for reproduction, sperm swimming, fragile. But they started soil formation, broke down rock, held water, created conditions for larger plants, pioneers in deep time. Over 400 million years ago, Ordovician, Silurian, world unrecognizable, continents different, no animals on land, just plants, then millipedes, then, gradually, everything else, following the green, following the food, following the energy, following the transformation plants began. Ferns came next, with vascular tissue, xylem and phloem, tubes for water, for nutrients, allowing height, allowing complexity. The Carboniferous period, fern forests, giant club mosses, horsetails tall as trees, the first forests, Earth's first experiment with wood, with height, with canopy, insects diversified, dragonflies huge, oxygen high, carbon dioxide dropping, absorbed by plants, buried as coal, as oil, as gas, locked underground for hundreds of millions of years, until us, until we dug it up, burned it, released it, returned ancient carbon to atmosphere in centuries instead of millions of years, fast forwarding, reversing, the work of ancient plants. But tonight we're just observing, just knowing, just drifting past guilt, past fear, past everything except this breath, this darkness, this letting go. Gymnosperms evolved seeds, conifers, cycads, Ginkgos, Mesozoic dominance, feeding dinosaurs, surviving the catastrophe that killed them. Conifers in boreal forests, still dominant, still successful. Taiga circling the Arctic, largest biome, storing carbon, making oxygen, standing patient, slow growing, cold adapted, perfect, unchanged for millions of years. Why change what works? Why rush when patience succeeds? When slow is selected? When careful persistence outlasts everything else? Angiosperms, flowering plants, exploded onto scene. Cretaceous period, roughly 100 million years ago. Diversifying rapidly, partnering with pollinators, with dispersers, filling niches, creating niches, outcompeting gymnosperms in many environments, or coexisting, complementing, complicating. Today, 90% of plant species are angiosperms, flowers, everywhere, dominating, adapting, speciating, still, continuously. Some evolved into trees, some stayed herbaceous, some became parasites, carnivores, epiphytes, succulents, aquatics. Every strategy, every possibility, explored, tested, kept if it works, discarded if it fails. Evolution's great experiment, ongoing, endless, patient, creative, blind, but finding ways, always, ways, drifting through deep time now, through evolution's slow currents, through extinction events and radiations, through ice ages and hot houses, through the patient turning of ecosystems, like your body cycling through sleep stages, through REM and deep wave, through restoration and consolidation, everything cycling, nothing static, everything flowing, like the ancient rivers, carving canyons, grain by grain, drop by drop, inexorable, patient, unstoppable. Time's slow hand shaping everything, including this moment, this breath, this soft descent into deeper, deeper depths. Plant fossils rare, soft tissue decays quickly, but sometimes preserved. Burgess Shale, Green River Formation, permineralization, cell by cell, replaced with silica, calcite, exquisite detail, structure preserved, even cells visible, even cellular content sometimes, petrified wood, forest turned stone, trees you can touch, ancient but present, past made physical, time made touchable. Walking through petrified forests feels like visiting graves, like visiting monuments, like touching deep time, feeling the weight of millions of years, pressing down, down, like your body pressing into mattress. Held, supported, surrendered. Everything surrendered now. Everything. Given over, released. Humans domesticated plants 10,000 years ago. Roughly. Neolithic revolution. Wild grasses became wheat, rice, barley, corn. Wild aurochs became cattle. Wild wolves became dogs, and wild plants became crops, became gardens, became civilization. We selected, saved seeds from the best, largest, sweetest, most productive, generation by generation, changing them, evolving them, artificial selection, domestication, coevolution, We shaped plants. Plants shaped us. Agriculture enabled cities. Specialization, writing, art, philosophy, science. Everything human culture rests on foundation of grass seeds, of wheat, of rice, of agriculture, of partnership with plants, dependent, absolutely, completely dependent. Wild plants differ from cultivated, smaller fruits, bitter seeds, hard pods, more defensive chemicals, more survival traits, less productivity, domesticated plants, pampered, protected, bred for yield, for sweetness, for size. Many can't survive without us. Corn can't disperse its own seeds, needs humans to shell, to plant, totally dependent, totally changed, barely recognizable compared to teosint, its wild ancestor. Different species almost, definitely different, shaped by human hands, by human hunger, by human will, across millennia, across countless generations, both plants and humans, changing together, growing together, bound together, until separation means death for both, maybe, probably, everything bound, everything connected, body bound to bed, mind bound to sleep, self bound to nothing, drifting free, finally, completely. Plants grow in space, experiments, International Space Station, veggie chamber, red and blue LEDs, no soil, roots in air, misted, aeroponics. They grow, mostly normally, sometimes confused, gravity sensors confused, roots growing randomly, stems confused, seeking down that doesn't exist, but they adapt, they photosynthesize, they flower, they seed. Life persists, even in orbit, even in void, even without Earth, almost, with support, with help, with care, but persisting, proving that life is stubborn, adaptable, persistent, harder to kill than to nurture, clinging to existence, reaching toward light, toward life, toward continuation, always, automatically, inevitably. Astronauts eating lettuce grown in space, fresh food, green leaves in metal station, psychological benefit enormous, moral, hope, green growing things, in the void, in the darkness, reminder of earth, of home, of life, of continuation, of gardens, of forests, of the green world turning below, while they float weightless above, growing, eating, surviving, together, plant and human, even there, even in impossible places, partnership continuing, bond unbroken, unbreakable, as long as there's light, water, air, care, life finds a way, or we help it, we partner, we continue, together, always, together. Colors in plants from pigments, chemicals absorbing certain wavelengths, reflecting others. Chlorophyll reflects green, absorbs red and blue. Carotenoids absorb blue-green, reflect yellow, orange. Anthocyanins absorb green, yellow, reflect red, purple, blue, depending on pH, on cellular conditions, on genetics. Combinations create infinite variations. Every shade, every hue, every color we see in gardens, in forests, in fields. All chemistry, all light absorbed and reflected, all physics and biology, dancing together, creating beauty as byproduct, as accident, as side effect of survival, of attraction, of function, beauty without intent, beauty automatic, beauty inevitable when evolution meets light, meets life, meets time, meets everything, softening, blending, becoming indistinct. Full colors a revelation, chlorophyll breaks down, green fades, reveals what was always there, hidden beneath. Carotenoids, yellows and oranges, present all summer, masked by chlorophyll, now visible. Anthocyanins, reds and purples, produced in autumn, as chlorophyll degrades, protecting, absorbing excess light, preventing damage during senescence, during shutdown, during preparation for winter, for dormancy, for death, of leaves, not tree. Tree survives, sleeps, waits for spring, patient, certain, knowing that cycles continue, that winter ends, that green returns, always, eventually, if the tree survives, if conditions allow, if time permits. Your time now for sleep, for rest, for letting go of green, of colour, of seeing, of thinking, everything fading, like autumn, like chlorophyll degrading, revealing underneath simplicity, darkness, peace, acceptance, release, the leaf falling, spiraling, landing soft on soil, on other leaves, on the forest floor, decomposing, feeding fungi, feeding soil, feeding roots, feeding the tree that dropped it. Circle completing, cycle continuing, and nothing wasted, everything returned, everything transformed, everything continuing in new forms, in new life, in spring, eventually. But now, winter, now, dormancy, now, rest, deep rest, complete rest, total, absolute surrender to darkness, to quiet, to the soft earth holding everything, holding you, heavy, heavier, heaviest, gone, almost gone. Anthocyanins appear in leaves, in flowers, in fruits, pH sensitive, red in acidic conditions, purple in neutral, blue in alkaline, same molecule, different colors, depending on environment, on chemistry. Hydrangeas demonstrate this, blue in acidic soil, pink in alkaline, same plant, different colors, changeable, responsive, interactive with soil, with water, with minerals, everything connected, chemistry flowing between organisms, between soil and plant, between plant and rain, between rain and air, between everything, cycling, exchanging, balancing, slowly, patiently, perfectly, over time, over scales we barely perceive, barely understand, barely care about now, because sleep, because rest, because letting go. Feel yourself letting go, muscles forgotten, breath automatic, heart beating, thump, thump, distant, someone else's heart, someone else's body, not yours, not really, just observed, witnessed, from far, from outside, from above, from nowhere. Anthocyanins in fruits attract animals, red berries, purple grapes, blue, blueberries, color signals ripeness, signals sugar, signals reward, come, eat, Take my seeds, plant my offspring. The plant feeds you. You plant the plant. Ancient contract, unspoken, unwritten, just chemistry, just colour, just survival, finding partnership, finding success, finding continuation through cooperation, through mutual benefit, through times-long experiment, testing, finding what works, keeping it, repeating it, forever, endlessly, patiently. Plants store information, not consciously, but through changes, through adaptations, through responses that persist. Priming, they call it, stressed plants producing offspring more resistant, without genetic change, just expression, just which genes are read, how often, how strongly, epigenetic inheritance. Soft, temporary, but real, effective. The plant remembers, the offspring remember, for a while, for a generation or two, then fading, unless stress continues, unless selection maintains, unless necessity demands. Your body remembers how to sleep, how to breathe, how to let go. Muscle memory, cellular memory, ancient memory written in brainstem, in cerebellum, in genes older than humans, older than mammals, older than everything except life itself. Just sleeping, just resting, just continuing. The body knows, the body does. You don't need to. You can just drift, trust, release. Communication in plants fascinates researchers, challenges assumptions. What is communication? What is intelligence? What qualifies as sensing, as responding, as remembering? Plants have no neurons, no brains, but they process information, they respond appropriately, they learn after a fashion, they're alive, unquestionably. But are they aware? Probably not. Probably just chemistry, just reaction, just complex systems behaving complexly. But the line blurs, the definitions soften. What is intelligence? What is awareness? Questions, drifting, like thoughts, softening, becoming, irrelevant, unimportant, distant. Someone else's questions, someone else's problems, not yours, not now. Now you're just being, just breathing, just sinking deeper, deeper into questions without answers, into darkness without light, into sleep without dreams, maybe, hopefully, just void, just peace. Hormones in plants coordinate growth, development, responses, auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins, ethylene, abscisic acid. Each has roles, multiple roles, overlapping, interacting. A hormone surge here, a concentration gradient there, cells responding, growing, dying, changing, differentiating. Everything choreographed by chemistry, by concentration, by time, by location. The plant has no conductor, no coordinator, just distributed processing, local decisions, local responses, creating global pattern, creating organism, creating life from rules, simple rules applied consistently, patiently, everywhere, everywhen. No thought needed, no intention, just chemistry, obeying laws, physical laws, chemical laws, thermodynamic laws, inevitable, automatic, perfect, your body the same, hormones flooding, melatonin rising, cortisol dropping, adenosine accumulating, GABA opening channels, neurons quieting, activity decreasing, consciousness dimming, no thought needed, no intention, just physiology, just chemistry, just inevitable descent into sleep, into rest, into restoration. Trust it. Trust the process. Trust the billions of years of evolution, refining, perfecting, the art of rest, the necessity of sleep, the cycle of waking and sleeping, day and night, activity and rest, catabolism and anabolism, everything balanced, everything cycling, everything perfect. Auxins accumulate on shaded side, making cells grow longer, bending stem toward light, phototropism. Beautiful word, beautiful process. Light shining from one side, plant bending toward it, reaching, seeking, finding, no eyes needed, no brain, just photoreceptors, just auxin, just growth responding appropriately, effectively, elegantly. Life is elegant when you look closely, when you see the mechanism, the simplicity underlying complexity, the simple rules creating infinite variation, infinite beauty, infinite diversity, like dreams, simple elements, recombining, creating stories, creating experiences, creating worlds from nothing, from neurons firing, from chemistry, from randomness shaped by memory, shaped by meaning, shaped by nothing, everything, both. Gravitropism, growing with or against gravity. Stems up, roots down. How do they know? Statocytes, cells containing statoliths, dense starch grains settling, falling, pulled by gravity. The cell senses their position, responds, redistributes auxin, changes growth, bends, corrects, finds vertical, automatically, constantly, always, like your sense of balance, otolithic organs, calcium carbonate crystals, floating in fluid, pulled by gravity, bent by acceleration, hair cells sensing, reporting to brain, brain correcting, maintaining balance, maintaining upright, standing, walking, living in gravity, shaped by gravity, defined by gravity, like plants, like everything on earth, shaped by, pulled by, defined by, that constant, that inevitable, that inescapable force, pulling everything down, 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 into earth, into ground, into rest, into sleep. Let gravity have you now, completely holding you, pressing you into softness, into support, into surrender, thigmotropism, growing in response to touch, tendrils wrapping around supports, stems thickening where touched by wind. Mechanical stimulation changes gene expression, produces different proteins, stronger, tougher, adapted. The plant feels in its way, senses pressure, senses touch, responds appropriately, effectively. No nervous system, no pain, but sensation, information, response. Is it so different? Pressure bending a hair, opening a channel, ions flowing, signal propagating, cell responding, Neuron or plant cell, mechanism differs, but principle similar, maybe analogous. Life-solving problems, finding solutions, using available materials, available physics, available chemistry, creating sensation, creating response, creating life, adaptive life, responsive life, life that persists because it senses, because it responds, because it adapts. Rapid plant movements astound. Venus flytrap snapping, 1/10 of a second, faster than most muscles. Mimosa leaves folding in seconds. Sundew tentacles curling in minutes, hours, all without muscles, without neurons, just hydraulics, just osmosis, just cell pressure changing, turgor pressure, water flowing in or out, cells swelling or shrinking, your structures bending and moving, acting, you're looking alive, looking conscious, looking intentional, but probably just mechanism, just response, just chemistry in motion, physics in action, life doing what life does, persisting, responding, surviving, without thought, without awareness, without anything we'd recognize as experience, as consciousness, as de-being, maybe, probably. But who knows? Who can say what it's like to be a plant, to be a flytrap, to be anything other than yourself, and even yourself, even that, uncertain, vague, especially now, especially drifting, especially almost gone. Carnivorous plants evolved multiple times, independently. Different families, different continents, different mechanisms, but same solution, same problem. Nutrient-poor environments, especially nitrogen, especially phosphorus. So, catch animals, digest them, absorb them, supplement photosynthesis with predation, with carnivory, with death, feeding life, always, death feeding life, decay feeding growth, endings enabling beginnings, everywhere, always, eternally, nothing wasted, everything recycled, everything used, everything transformed, but never destroyed, never truly lost, just changed, rearranged, recycled through the system, the great cycle, the great flow of energy, of matter, of life, through time, through space, through the endless, patient, perfect transformation of everything into everything else, continuously, beautifully, perfectly. Venus flytrap counting, remembering. 5 triggers before digestive enzymes, efficiency, economy, precision. No brain, but computation, processing, decision-making, appropriate response. The trap is expensive, energetically. Only close for real prey. Only digest what's worth digesting. The plant decides, in its way, without thinking, without knowing, just responding appropriately, effectively, successfully. Success written in descendants, in survival, in continuation. Failures died, deleted, forgotten. Only successes remain. Only we remain. Only what works, works. Tautology, but true. Survivors survive because they survive because they survive because they have traits that lead to survival. Circular, obvious, but profound. but beautiful. But the only truth in biology, in evolution, in life, just work, just persist, just continue. Everything else is commentary or is detail, is just decoration. The core is survive, reproduce, repeat, endlessly, patiently, successfully, or die and be forgotten, become fossil, become history, become nothing but soil, but carbon, but air recycled into new life, new attempts, new experiments in living. Everything an experiment, every organism, every trait, every behavior, tested by reality, by survival, by reproduction, by time, keeping what works, discarding what doesn't, slowly, patiently, across millions of years, billions of years, since the beginning, since the first replicator, the first molecule that could copy itself, could make more, could begin the great experiment of life on Earth, and maybe elsewhere, maybe everywhere. Maybe life is inevitable, given time, given chemistry, given energy flowing, given the universe itself, creating pockets of order, of complexity, of life, temporarily, locally, fighting entropy, building structure, creating beauty, meaning, consciousness, thought, until eventually, inevitably, thermodynamics wins, entropy wins, everything decays, everything ends, everything returns to uniformity, to equilibrium, to heat death, to silence. But not yet, not tonight. Tonight we just rest, we just sleep, we just exist in this moment, this breathing moment, this soft darkness, this perfect peace. Pitcher plants trap, drown, dissolve. Pools of digestive fluid, enzymes, acids, bacteria helping, symbiosis even in digestion, even in death. The insect falls, struggles, drowns, decomposes, absorbed, becoming, plant, carbon from air, from insect, from death, built into leaf, into root, into flower, into seed, everything connected, everything flowing, prey becoming predator, coming prey, cycles within cycles, loops within loops, everything eating, everything eaten, everything participating in the great recycling, the great transformation, the great flow. Some pitcher plants specialize, rat eating, bat roosting. Some pitchers are toilets for tree shrews. The animal defecates, the plant absorbs, fertilized, mutual benefit, partnership, stranger than fiction, stranger than imagination. Evolution explores every possibility, every advantage, every opportunity. Nothing is too strange, too complex, too unlikely. If it works, if it survives, if it propagates, then it stays, then it spreads, then it becomes normal, becomes nature, becomes what we find when we look, when we study, when we witness the endless creativity, the blind ingenuity of evolution, of life, of adaptation across time. Carnivorous plants convergent, proof that evolution finds solutions repeatedly, similar problems, similar solutions, but different mechanisms, different details, different histories, flypaper traps, snap traps, pitfall traps, bladder traps, lobster pot traps, different, but same purpose, same function, same success, convergence, parallel evolution, life finding optimal solutions across time, across space, independently, necessarily, inevitably. Given problem, given time, solutions emerge, multiply, spread. Same equations, same constraints, same physics, chemistry, biology. Similar solutions, inevitable, beautiful, proof of order underlying chaos, pattern underlying randomness, necessity underlying contingency, everything balanced, everything inevitable and accidental, both, always, both. Parasitic plants steal, dodder, mistletoe, broom rape, Indian pipe. They penetrate hosts, tap vascular systems, steal water, sugars, nutrients. Some have leaves, some chlorophyll, hemiparasites, stealing but also making. Some have nothing, hollow parasites, total dependence, total theft. And they thrive, they spread, they succeed. Because cooperation isn't the only strategy, because theft works too, because parasitism is viable, is successful, is amoral. Evolution has no morals, no ethics, no values, just what works, what persists, what survives. Parasites survive by harming hosts, by stealing, by depending, and that's fine. That's natural. That's life. Complex. Messy. Neither good nor bad. Just existing. Persisting. Continuing. Like everything. Like us. Like consciousness. Neither good nor bad. Just happening. Just being. Just fading now. Softer. Quieter. Less. And less. And less. Mycoheterotrophs, ghost pipes, Indian pipes, coral root orchids, pale, waxy, eerie, no chlorophyll. They parasitize fungi, which parasitize, or partner, with trees. Layers of dependency, networks of exchange, exploitation, cooperation, blurred lines, unclear boundaries. Who benefits? Who loses? Who's the host? Who's the parasite? Sometimes unclear, sometimes changing, sometimes both, neither, depending on conditions, on time, on your perspective. Everything complex, everything interconnected, everything muddled, blurred, soft, like thoughts, like consciousness, between states, between categories, between being and not being, between wake and sleep, between self and not self, boundaries dissolving, categories collapsing, everything becoming vague, soft, quiet, nothing. Mycorrhizal networks. We return, always returning, to networks, to connections, to threads, underground, invisible, essential. Most plants partnered, most trees connected, sharing, trading, carbon for minerals, sugars for phosphorus, nitrogen, water, mutual benefit, usually, mostly, sometimes, parasitism, sometimes saprophytism, fungi eating dead plants, sometimes unclear, sometimes all three, depending on season, on need, on availability, everything fluid, everything negotiable, everything contingent, like relationships, like ecosystems, like everything in life, nothing fixed, nothing certain, nothing guaranteed, just flow, just change, just adaptation, continuous, endless, exhausting, unless you stop, unless you rest, unless you surrender to the flow, to the change, to the inevitable transformation of everything, including you, including thought, including wakefulness, into sleep, into dreams, into nothing, peaceful nothing, restful nothing, perfect nothing, wood wide web, poetic name, accurate name, forest floor threaded, woven, connected, communication, resource sharing, kin recognition, mother trees feeding offspring, keeping them alive, in shade, in competition, giving more to their own. How do they know? How do they recognize chemistry, unique chemical signatures, or just proximity? Unclear, debated, researched, but the phenomenon real, documented, measured, trees connected, trees sharing, trees surviving better together than alone. Cooperation, competition, both balanced, optimized by evolution, by time, by success measured in survival, in offspring, into continuation, your brain connected, neurons firing, patterns propagating, networks activating, then quieting, then releasing, consciousness emerging from connection, from communication, from neurons sharing signals, patterns creating experience, creating thought, creating self, maybe, probably, most likely, and now, consciousness fading as signals quiet, as patterns dissolve, as network rests, as connection softens, breaks, temporary disconnection, temporary silence, temporary death of waking cell and a birth of sleeping cell, transformation, every night, every sleep, dying and living, living and dying, repeatedly, until the final time, the final sleep, but not yet, not tonight, tonight, just sleeping, just resting, just temporarily gone. Allelopathy, chemical warfare, we mentioned, black walnut, eucalyptus, sunflower, sage, releasing compounds, toxic to competitors, clearing space, reducing competition, evolution of cruelty, evolution of selfishness, because it works, because being nice gets you outcompeted, gets you killed, gets your genes deleted, but cooperation also works, also persists, also succeeds. Balance, always balance, too cooperative, exploited, too competitive, exhausted. Optimal strategy somewhere between selfishness and altruism, between war and peace, between competition and cooperation. Life finding balance, evolution finding balance, across species, across individuals, across genes, all balancing, all optimizing, all surviving, succeeding, continuing, or dying, failing, ending, selection choosing, blindly, necessarily, perfectly. What works, works. Everything else doesn't. Softer now, barely thinking, barely forming sentences, just fragments, just impressions, drifting, like pollen, like seeds, like thoughts on wind, going, gone. Defense chemicals, secondary metabolites, alkaloids, terpenoids, phenolics, flavonoids, tannins, thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, different compounds, different plants, different purposes, different targets, insects, fungi, bacteria, herbivores, competitors, different mechanisms, different effects, neurotoxins, digestive inhibitors, metabolic disruptors, cellular toxins, immune triggers, everything tested, everything refined, everything optimized across millions of years of evolution, of arms races, of predator and prey, of plant and herbivore, evolving together, adapting together, escalating together. Plants making toxins, herbivores evolving resistance, plants making new toxins, herbivores adapting, endless, exhausting, driving diversity, driving evolution, driving everything, life competing, cooperating, continuing, always, somehow, continuing, toxic plants, beautiful and deadly, poison dart frogs sequester plant toxins, become toxic themselves, warning colours, aposematism, don't eat me, I'm poisonous, learned from plants, stolen from plants, plants making poisons, animals stealing poisons, everything connected, everything flowing, toxins from soil to plant to insect to frog to ecosystem, cycling, transforming, repurposed, reused, everything in nature used, reused, recycled, nothing wasted, everything opportunity for someone, something, some species, exploiting, adapting, surviving, succeeding. Life finds a way, always, eventually, given time, given death of failures, given survival of survivors, tautology but true, beautiful but cold, indifferent, perfect but immoral. Life is what life is, continuing, persisting, surviving, nothing more, nothing less, just being, like you, like us, like everything, just being, breathing, existing, for now, for this moment, this breath, this heartbeat, thump, thump, softer, slower, almost, still, medicinal plants, aspirins from willows, digitalis from foxglove, quinine from cinchona, taxol from yew, morphine from poppy, drugs, medicines, cures, poisons, depending on dose, on use, on intention. Same compounds, different contexts, different outcomes. Plants don't make them for us. Make them for themselves, for defense, for survival. We just borrow, steal, repurpose, test, carefully, scientifically, medically. Some work, some kill, some cure, some harm. We learn, slowly, carefully, testing, always testing, sometimes failing, sometimes succeeding. Medicine advances, plant by plant, compound by compound, trial by trial. Success built on failure, knowledge built on death, progress built on our sacrifice, necessary, regrettable, inevitable. Everything costs, everything has price, everything bought with time, with effort, with our lives. But we continue, we persist, we try, because we must, because we're alive, because living means struggling, means trying, means continuing, despite cost, despite death, despite everything, just continuing, like plants, like life, like everything, always continuing somehow until can't anymore, until end, until sleep, eternal sleep, but not yet, not tonight. Tonight just normal sleep, just rest, just temporary absence, temporary peace, temporary silence. Psychoactive plants, sacred plants, teacher plants, some call them Lopophora, ayahuasca, psilocybin, cannabis, altering consciousness, creating visions, creating experiences, creating meaning, sometimes clarity, sometimes confusion, sometimes healing, sometimes harm, powerful, dangerous, sacred, profane, all of it, depending on context, on use, on culture, on individual. Plants offering doorways into what? Into mind, into altered states, into something. What is consciousness? What is reality? What is self? Questions ancient, questions eternal, questions unanswerable, maybe, probably. Questions we ask anyway, questions we explore, using plants, using chemistry, using experience, seeking answers, seeking meaning, seeking understanding of this strange, unlikely, temporary condition of being awake, aware, conscious, alive, here, now, briefly, so briefly, before returning to nothing, to absence, to the eternal, before we were born, and after we die, the nothing, the void, the peace of non-being, not scary, not sad, just neutral, just absent, just nothing at all, like sleep, like dreamless sleep, like where you are now, drifting, dissolving, becoming nothing, softly, gently, perfectly, nothing. Plant alkaloids, nitrogen rings, complex molecules, expensive to make, worth it, for protection, for survival. Caffeine paralyzing insects, stimulating humans, same molecule, different species, different effects, different nervous systems, different receptors, different outcomes, everything contextual, everything relational, nothing absolute, nothing isolated, everything connected to everything, meaning emerging from relationship, from context, from connection. Disconnect and meaning dissolves. Disconnect and you're just chemicals, just atoms, just quantum foam, fluctuating, appearing, disappearing, meaning created by connection, by pattern, by relationship, by awareness, perhaps, maybe, consciousness, creating meaning, observing, creating reality, or just chemistry, just determinism, just atoms following laws, appearing conscious, appearing meaningful, but really just mechanical, automated, determined, inevitable. Who knows? Who can say? Questions without answers. Questions creating anxiety. Better to just let go. Just accept. Just surrender to mystery, to not knowing, to sleep, where questions dissolve, where seeking stops, where everything rests. Plant immune systems, pattern recognition, hypersensitive response, systemic acquired resistance, sophisticated effective, adaptive, no antibodies, no lymphocytes, but recognition, but memory, but adaptation, different mechanism, same function, same purpose, survival, convergent evolution of immunity, plants and animals solving same problem, different ways, both working, both successful, both sufficient. Life finds solutions, many solutions, different solutions, all working, all sufficient, none perfect, nothing perfect, everything just good enough, adequate, functional, surviving, continuing. That's all. That's enough. Good enough to survive, to reproduce, to continue. No perfection needed, no optimization required. Just adequacy, just functioning, just being, barely being sometimes, struggling sometimes, but continuing, persisting, like you, like us, not perfect, barely adequate, but here, still continuing, still breathing, barely, softly, slowly, almost, not. Wound responses, rapid, dramatic, calcium flooding, signals propagating, genes activating, healing beginning, all automatic, all unconscious, all us, mechanistic, no thought, no feeling, no suffering, probably, hopefully, just response, just chemistry, just mechanism, beautiful mechanism, elegant mechanism, but just mechanism. Or maybe not just. Maybe mechanism is enough. Maybe mechanism is everything. Maybe consciousness is mechanism too, emerging from complexity, from connection, from organization, of simple parts, following simple rules, creating experience, creating awareness, creating this, whatever this is, this experiencing, this knowing, this being, here, now, fading, forgetting, dissolving into mechanism, into chemistry, into sleep, where experience stops, where knowing ceases, where being becomes not being, temporarily, nightly, naturally, normally, safely, just sleeping, just resting, just letting mechanism run, without supervision, without awareness, without you. You can go now, you can rest, you can dissolve. The body continue, the heart beats, the lungs breathe, the brain processes, repairs, consolidates, all without you, all automatically, all perfectly. You're not needed. You can rest, you can go, wherever you go, in sleep, in dreams, in nothing. Just go. It's safe, it's natural, it's time. Regeneration in plants, remarkable, from cuttings, from fragments, from cells, to tipotency, every cell remembering how to be everything, how to make everything, just needs signal, needs condition, needs trigger, then to tipotency, stem cells, undifferentiated, becoming root, becoming shoot, becoming leaf, becoming flower, becoming whole plant, from fragment, complete from incomplete, whole from part, impossible, but happening, but real, but natural, evolution maintaining, flexibility, adaptability, insurance against damage, against loss, against death, life ensuring continuation, ensuring survival, ensuring that even breaking, even fragmenting, even nearly dying can become opportunity, can become rebirth, can become a continuation. Nothing wasted, everything opportunity, everything transformed into continuation, into survival, into life, persisting, adapting, continuing, always, somehow, always, cloning, single organism reproduction, runners, rhizomes, bulbs, fragments, fast, easy, certain, offspring guaranteed, genes preserved, exactly, perfectly, but dangerous too. No diversity, no adaptation, no evolution. All clones vulnerable to same disease, same pest, same change, no flexibility, no resilience, just sameness. Successful until conditions change, then catastrophe, then mass death, then extinction, maybe. So plants balance, reproductive and clonal, diversity and certainty, adaptation and preservation, never all one, never all other, always, both, balanced, optimized, by evolution, by time, by death of strategies that failed, by survival of strategies that worked. Always balance, always optimization, always what works, works, what doesn't, doesn't. Simple, obvious, profound, true, gamete fusion, costly, difficult, uncertain, but diversity, adaptation, evolution, enabled, offspring different, varied, some better, some worse, some adapted, some not. Selection chooses, population evolves, species adapts, survives, continues, worth the cost, worth the effort, worth the gamble, because conditions change, because climate shifts, because nothing stays same. Change is constant, only constant. So adaptation necessary, so diversity essential, so gamete fusion, despite cost, despite difficulty, despite uncertainty. Worth it, necessary, essential. Life persisting through diversity, through adaptation, through change embraced, change anticipated, change survived, generation after generation, extinction after extinction, species rising, species falling, but life, life continuing, always life, continuing, transforming, adapting, surviving, beautifully, necessarily, inevitably, until entropy, until heat death, until the end of everything. But not tonight, not tonight. Tonight we just rest, we just sleep, we just exist in this temporary, brief, beautiful moment of being, of breathing, of softness, descending, dissolving, becoming. Nothing special, nothing unusual, just sleeping, just biological organism, resting, repairing, continuing, survival, through rest, through sleep, through this darkness, this peace, this perfect nothing, pollination, fertilization, double fertilization, unique to angiosperms, flowering plants, one sperm, egg, embryo, other sperm, polar nuclei, endosperm, food for embryo, efficient, elegant, complex, ensuring nourishment, ensuring survival, ensuring continuation. Every flower a factory, every seed a capsule, containing embryo, food, coat, protection, everything needed, packaged, waiting for right moment, right condition, right trigger, then germination, then growth, then flower, then seed, then cycle continues, repeats, endlessly, beautifully, patiently, life's wheel turning, generations flowing, time passing, marked by flowers, by seeds, by growth, by death, by rebirth, everything cycling, nothing linear, all circles, all loops, all returning, including us, including you, returning now to sleep, to rest, to the womb, the darkness, the beginning, the end. Same place, same nothing, same peace, where we come from, where we return, every night, every sleep. Practice for the final, practice for, but not yet. Just practice, just temporary, just sleep, normal, safe, necessary, sleep, falling, fallen, coevolution, orchids and wasps, yuccas and moths, figs and wasps, partnerships so specific, so intricate, so perfect, evolved together, shaped each other, dependent, totally dependent, remove one, other dies, both die, extinction, paired, both species locked, in embrace, in partnership, in mutual survival, beautiful, tragic, risky, fragile, but successful, obviously successful, because still here, still partnered, still continuing. Evolution creates marvels and prisons, beauty and dependency, freedom and chains, all mixed, all balanced, all surviving somehow, continuing somehow, until can't anymore, until change too fast, until adaptation impossible, until death, extinction, silence. But while living, while surviving, while continuing, it's beautiful, it's remarkable, it's worth witnessing, worth experiencing, worth this moment, this awareness, this brief candle flickering in darkness, soon to extinguish. But bright now, aware now, experiencing now, this beauty, this complexity, this life, flowering, seeding, continuing, while we watch, witness, participate, briefly, so briefly, before sleeping, before dreaming, before forgetting, releasing, returning to darkness, to silence, to peace, seeds dispersing, floating, flying, exploding, eaten, carried, spread, finding ground, finding conditions, germinating or waiting. Patience, such patience, decades, centuries, millennia, waiting for moment, for moisture, for warmth, for Riyadh trigger. Then explosion of our growth, race against time, before drought, before cold, before death, living quickly, flowering urgently, seeding desperately, then done, complete, successful or not, but trying, always trying. Life tries, always tries, never gives up, never surrenders, until death, final death, then silence, then decomposition, then recycling, back to soil, back to nutrients, back to next generation. Nothing wasted, everything reused, death feeding life, always, eternally, beautifully. Life eating death, death creating life, cycle, endless cycle, wheel turning, cosmos breathing, in, out, like you, like your breath, slowing, slower, slowest, barely, there. The universe keeps turning, plants breathing quietly with the turning cosmos, and will keep drifting, floating together through the mysteries. 100 plants mysteries, looping softly, endlessly through the night. Tonight we'll drift through plants that communicate through underground fungal networks. Carnivorous plants that hunt with traps and enzymes. Ancient plants that have survived unchanged for millions of years. There's nothing you need to do now. Just let your body sink. Heavier, heavier. Feel the mattress holding you, every muscle softening, your heartbeat slowing. Thump, thump, matching the rhythm of space itself. Shoulders melting down, jaw releasing, each breath pulling you deeper, deeper into the calm, the quiet, the dark,